Hey guys, Jeremy Chakoti here. So this video is an introduction to the art of war in the sense of looking at success strategies for life, for business, for yourself, as opposed to talking about the art of war where one country is attacking another country or defending itself and so on, blowing people up and that sort of thing. I want to say straight off the bat, I am not making any claim to being a military trainer or whatever when it comes to this stuff. This is about personal performance and strategies for successful living. So to kick this off, it's worth saying straight off the bat at the beginning that we are going to have daily battles. We are going to have situations in our daily lives where we really have to fight for what we want. You're not going to get anything of great value given to you effortlessly every single time. Now, I'm not saying people don't inherit things and people have different family circumstances, and that's all great. More power to you, and that I think that's great. But the reality is, if you're in a situation where you're trying to better yourself or change your life, improve your health, improve your business, your finances, improve your relationships, you're going to have to fight for what it is that you're trying to create or change, because very often that battle is going to be an internal battle with who you were before compared to who you are becoming. Your old self will resist by trying to drag you down. It will resist by trying to get you to reinstate old habits. So the art of war as a metaphor it's no joke. It's really, you will have daily battles where you really have to be on your game, otherwise life's going to kick the shit out of you. So to kick this off, we're gonna look at 5 success secrets of Navy SEALs. It kind of rolls off the tongue nicely, doesn't it? So 5 success secrets of Navy SEALs. Now, the Navy SEALs is American Special Forces unit. These guys are very serious about what they do, and anytime any Special Forces unit around the world starts talking about performance enhancing strategies, and I'm not talking about drugs or those sorts of things, anytime these Special Forces guys are talking about tactics that can be employed to improve performance in life or death situations, it's worth taking note, because these guys are very serious about what they do, and not only their lives and their teammates' lives, but often there are sometimes hundreds or thousands and other people's lives involved with what they're trying to do. So their actions and their effectiveness in accomplishing missions successfully is a big deal. So when these groups or any of these groups start talking about performance, it's worth listening. So there's been 5 in particular strategies that were identified by the Navy SEALs to improve the performance of their soldiers who were going through the BUDS training. BUDS training, without going into details, basically a number of weeks where they are physically, mentally tested and trained, and very few people that go into that program, the BUDS training program, actually graduate. The dropout rate is astronomical. And I don't know the exact figures off the top of my head, but it's probably, it wouldn't be 1 in 20 would graduate. Now, again, don't quote me on those numbers, but the point is it's very difficult. So when they were looking at success strategies for these guys, they were looking at identifying key attributes that separated those people that were successful from those people who applied, who were potentially, there's been examples of like Olympic athletes who have gone into the SEAL training and pulled out, whereas you might hear stories about someone from from rural area going through and absolutely outperforming other elite athletes on every front. And so they studied who, those guys that were being successful versus those people pulling out, and they came up with a list of 5 key attributes that were shown to improve performance. So obviously they've used these attributes to help develop their applicants to improve graduation rates, because it's expensive to put these guys through the training, and obviously they want more soldiers to be absolutely trained and prepared, as opposed to destroying, guys, getting them injured, or, just failing them. They actually want more successful applicants. So these 5 strategies that success strategies or success secrets. The first one was developing incredible focus. So those guys that were successful were able to focus on specific tasks or specific missions and did not lose focus, so they maintained that focus until the mission was accomplished. So they developed extraordinary focus on specific outcomes. And so one of the key attributes that you can develop in your own life, you can copy all of these, obviously this is the point, is to learn to develop intense focus on completing specific tasks. So at the beginning of the day, it's worth writing out a mission plan. This is one thing I absolutely recommend. Timeline out your day, and have very, very clear objectives. And when you select the most important mission for the day, go after it, go at it, and don't stop until you reach your objective, until you achieve what it is that you've set out to achieve. So this idea of intense focus, developing intense focus, is very, very powerful. So the next success secret, or secret of success strategy that the Navy SEALs identified, was rehearsal. And this is both physical, actual rehearsal, and mental rehearsal, in that by doing something at the actual action and practicing the tasks, the roles, the actual strategies that involve actually sitting down and practicing, or getting out and practicing physically doing it, was proven to improve performance. And that's pretty logical. The more you practice something, the better you get, chance to improve your performance at it. But what is interesting, and there's an absolutely, growing body of evidence, was that mental rehearsal also showed massive improvements in performance. So if you have a task, you've got a specific mission, mentally rehearsing that task to the successful outcome, being able to handle perceived obstacles, mentally rehearsing how you're going to handle those perceived obstacles efficiently and effectively, rehearsing that has been proven, even though it's just in your head, to improve performance. So rehearsal, obviously physically practicing. If you're in sales, you practice your sales calls. If you're involved in anything physical, physically practicing it. So a simple strategy. The next success secret of Navy SEALs that we're looking at for this introduction to the art of war was mastery of self-talk. Now, any of you guys who have heard me talk about the Warriors Tree, or done the Warriors Tree training with me, will know that there is a mind-body consciousness connection, and this connection can be analyzed in 7 major attentions, or 7 major ways that we can break down and identify the mind-body connection. The first attention is basically marked by your internal dialogue. So for most people, day to day, your daily state when you're doing your actions is going to be heavily influenced by your internal dialogue. And it's one of the indicators of being in the first attention. So your internal dialogue is basically a extension of one of your 6 senses, and it actually triggers your other 5 senses. So your internal dialogue's called auditory digital, in terms of it's the linguistic extension of your other senses. So when it comes to being in daily life, your internal dialogue will often act as a interpreter, or offer advice or insight, or warning or caution, especially because your first attention is this logical, rational part of your brain, your left hemisphere, is going to interpret things initially through a quick filter for obstacles and for dangers. And so your internal dialogue will often be pointing these out to you. And what that does is actually, if you're not careful, it will actually undermine your performance if you're having negative self-talk. And so because what you say to yourself has a physiological effect on you, if you are listening to your internal dialogue, you're much, much more likely to have fear-based or pessimistic thoughts as an extension of our survival now, or our survival mechanisms. So instead of having this automatic extension of our subconscious and our first attention, instead of listening to your internal dialogue, the success strategy is to direct your internal dialogue. So instead of listening to your internal dialogue, you consciously direct it. So you say things to yourself. You say positive things to yourself. You say empowering things to yourself. You frame your statements about your tasks and your objectives in such a way that they are benefiting you and that they're empowering you as opposed to undermining you. So the Navy SEALs identify this. Interesting, Special Forces, these guys, again, very, very serious about what they're doing. They identified self-talk as being a major factor in improving performance, and positive self-talk or self-directed self-talk as opposed to just listening to self-talk. The next secret or success secret of Navy SEALs they identified was breathing. In stressful situations, we tend to hold our breath or breathe very shallow. The difference between fear and excitement in many ways is a held breath. So if you get a shock to your system, sometimes your body braces itself. It's like the compression of your breath for anything more than just a few seconds will actually create tension through your body and in many ways delay reflex responses and in many ways reduce your adaptability to highly stressful situations. Whereas when you can breathe out and breathe in deeply and deliberately, it can help reclaim focus over your mind-body connection and reduce direct interference or direct overload from your limbic system. Now, without getting all scientific, basically your amygdala is, or in your brainstem, there releases stress hormones or is involved with a lot of hormone regulation. Under stressful situations, it will produce adrenaline. And while this can be useful for being productive, if it's overactive, especially for guys, if adrenaline's overactive, then what happens is you shut down and you become over tense. Your heart rate goes up, your fine motor control reduces. So it's basically the fight or flight response or the freeze response. Fight or flight being the run or fight, and freeze being that sensory overload. So the fight or flight is an active response, that's an adrenal stress response, and the freeze is what's called a passive response. Both of those can be influenced by breathing in reducing, you won't stop it, but reducing its effect over you. So the Navy SEALs identified this as one of their success secrets, was the ability to regulate breathing. So if you're in a stressful situation and you've got a stressful stimulus, taking a few seconds to just deep breathe before you overreact or act irrationally I'm not saying this for all circumstances, sometimes you got to just go without thinking about it and not breathing, but for day-to-day living, taking a step back, regulating your breathing can also help get you out of this stress response and back into frontal lobe thinking. A frontal lobe thinking is much more, you can make much better conscious decisions about what you're doing. That can happen very, very quickly, but the point is deep breathing, especially when you're under stressful circumstances, will absolutely help your performance. So these 4, very, very interesting. And again, these guys, Special Forces guys, I've got to keep saying it, they don't come up with a success strategy not having tested it. They don't come up with success strategies flippantly, so these are very, very effective things. So the last one is feedback. So what they found was by having coaching and feedback on performance, accountability on performance, helped improve performance through the process of reviewing what was done, both effectively and ineffective, and that gave graduates or the soldiers a chance for the next time they did the action or the thing to have a better perspective on what they needed to do second time around. Now, in military situations, and certainly in self-defense or life and death situations, you may not get a second chance. That's the reality of it. Sometimes that's it. You've got to just go, and you don't get a second chance. You don't necessarily get a chance to get feedback unless you survive. But for day-to-day living, it can really, really help to take notes and look for feedback from the people around you. That could be your partner, it could be people you're in business with, meaning your customers, it could be, people that are involved with the delivery of the service, it could be people involved with the sale of the service. You want to really look for feedback from every angle. It's often called 360-degree feedback. In martial arts, we often talk about 360-degree awareness. But this is feedback not just from your perspective, but from other people's perspective around on what you're doing, how it's affecting, how the service is working. So basically getting feedback on what you're doing and also getting coaching about what you're doing can massively help performance. Getting a performance coach. If you're looking to get fit, getting a personal trainer, getting someone who's passionate, who's an expert in their field. If you're looking to improve your performance, getting that feedback is absolutely imperative, and it will massively fast track your results. And the same is true for your relationships, the same is true for business. Getting a coach in each of these areas, and sometimes it's the one coach, sometimes it's you have a whole heap of coaches. I've got coaches in a whole heap of different areas, and it's made a massive difference in my life getting that feedback, as well as getting regular feedback from my clients and my customers, from my wife, from people around me. Getting feedback gives me a chance to see how I'm performing and get a chance to review and alter my actions and how I'm conducting myself to improve my performance from not just my perspective, but from the perspective of people around me. So there's 5 success secrets of Navy SEALs as an introduction to this idea, the art of war. There's a lot more to the art of war in terms of success strategies for daily living. There's a whole range of subject matters and different tactics. But as an introduction, those 5, being able to develop incredible focus to accomplish a mission, focusing solely on one task until it's completed. Absolutely very, very powerful suggestion. Rehearsing physically and mentally prior to the engagement of the activity to improve performance. Very, very, very powerful insight. Learning to direct your own self-talk. This is applicable not just in battle combat, battle situations, but absolutely for everyday life. Just keeping yourself focused and in the right state of mind is massively influenced by your self-talk. And then breathing, being able to take a step back, breathe deeply, and gather your thoughts before you engage in the next activity or the next whatever it is, absolutely helps improve your performance. And then lastly, getting feedback, getting coaching, and diarizing your own thoughts, your own feedback, your own insights. Absolutely very, very powerful strategies. So there's 5 success secrets of Navy SEALs as an introduction to the art of war. Please like, share, comment below on Facebook if you like it. Positive feedback's great. Criticism is also good if it's constructive. Haters gonna hate, but hopefully you liked those suggestions. I'm Jeremy Takoti, and I'll talk to you soon.